Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to another video. Thank you very much for joining us on this lovely Saturday evening. It's been fantastic. As you can see, I'm a little bit burnt. Been outdoors all day. But I've also been having a pint, Sam, thinking about the prospect of Rob Edwards being our manager for next season. Now, it's been a really positive week for Watford fans, I'd say, overall. After what has been a pretty dismal, it has been a dismal season all round, to go into the last couple of games with a bit of optimism and positivity is always great to see. And we've appointed Rob Edwards on a 2-year deal with an option of a further year from Forest Green Rovers as our new head coach. And also, there's been some teasers for the new home kit. We're yet to see the shorts and socks, but we have seen the home shirt, and it looks a belter personally. But as always, we're going to be taking your calls today. So if you want to get involved, check the pinned comment in the live chat at the moment. If you'd like to come on screen, you don't need to show your video and just can give your thoughts on Watford and this appointment. We'd love to hear what you think about Rob Edwards as an appointment, most importantly. Secondly, we're going to be giving our thoughts on Rob Edwards. And to do that, I'm joined by none other than Mr. Sam Uckoare. Now, Sam, how's your week been? How's today been? How was your feeling about Rob Edwards?
Do you know what? It all happened so quickly. Obviously, last Friday we had the tier list video where we discussed the possibility of who could the next Watford manager be, and obviously our good friend Charlie said that he was one of the best options that we could have gone for and put him right at the top of the list. And John Eustace was the favourite, but quickly moving, we had reports coming out of TalkSport that Rob Edwards would be the new Watford manager. And then all of a sudden, it just happened very quickly. Leventhal started reporting on it, and before we knew it, the Forest Green chairman started talking. He was on Sky Sports News, and then it seemed that he was our new manager. So I'm really happy with the appointment. I think there are obvious sort of flaws to his appointment, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But that's not to say that he's someone who won't grow into the role and someone that we can build around. I think it's equally a chance for Watford to grow and an opportunity for Rob Edwards to grow as well. So it's going to be sort of a learning experience and something that both sort of sides will need patience with, but something that we can all look forward to. Do
you know what, Sam? You mentioned kind of the two aspects, the pros and cons of this appointment. Should we get into the pros first and what you believe is the great thing about this appointment first off?
Yeah, I think defined style of play, it seems to be. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch. I don't think I watched Forest Green once this season or ever under Rob Edwards. But having done my research online and speaking to a couple of Forest Green fans on socials, it seems he's got a defined style of play, 3 at the back, wing backs like to get involved, and it's quite aggressive in the press, it seems. So I think, I think that's certainly something that Watford fans can get behind, considering it seems to be an attractive style of play, something that we haven't really seen from many Watford managers over the last few appointments, particularly Vladimir Ivic and Roy Hodgson. So I think certainly that. And secondly, the fact that he's a young manager with a point to prove. Coming up from League Two, can he make that step up? And as I say, it's someone who we'll be able to grow with and someone who'll be able to grow with us as well. Yeah,
100%. I completely echo what you're saying there, Sam. I think the biggest thing for me, and I tweeted it at the time, it feels like a defining appointment in the Pozzo era, really, Sam, because the only one I can liken to it really is maybe Gianfranco Zola. I got a similar feel with this one, getting a young manager in who maybe isn't the most experienced, but ultimately has the ability to take us further and take this club forward. And I think another thing to say is it's a different manager to what we've gone with before. Now, we've read loads, as you mentioned. If you haven't read already, read Leventhal's article on Rob Edwards and how the appointment was made. We'll leave a link in the description. And also check out Jordan, who's been on the channel before, his video, Watford Analytics. He talks through Rob's tactics, what to expect, his stats with his team at Forest Green Rovers last season. So make sure you do go and check that out. We'll leave a link in the description. But the biggest thing I took away from it, Sam, is that we could actually build a project with Rob. Now, we've appointed him on a 2-year deal with an option of a further year. But everything seems to be pointing in the direction that we're going to be moving away from this hire and fire, high managerial turnover. Can you see that? Are you feeling positive that we can see a different direction towards head coaches?
I am. Look, the main thing is always in football it's a results business, and it's going to be about whether that actually happens. We lose the first 3, we lose the first 5. Will the fans stick behind the manager? Will the board stick behind the manager? More importantly, considering, promotion has to be still the priority next season. I know some people say that, they wouldn't mind a few years in the Championship, but we need to look to get promoted as well. Otherwise, it's pointless. But look, I think, as I say, it's just about time whether we give him time. I think the actual appointment indicates that there will be a change, or they're looking to change their ways. But as I say, it's about whether it actually happens. And I think the main thing will be backing him in the transfer market, because this team isn't good enough. There are players who will be leaving in the summer, and to fit Rob Edwards' style of play, we need those players to come in.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's the one thing that will have to make this appointment a success is backing Rob in the transfer window, right? Because I think a lot of times before, and Javi did a great job with what he had, but they weren't his players. Although we had an incredible pivot with Culshaw and Uckoare, ultimately, there were players in that team that maybe he wouldn't have wanted. And even when we brought in Sarr, for example, a classic example of Sarr, a great talent, but ultimately he didn't actually fit into Javi's system because he played those two narrow wide midfielders. So if we're playing the three at the back formation that Rob Edwards played at Forest Green Rovers, this high pressing three at the back formation, which as Lou Orns, I see in the comments section, made a great point that three at the back formations are great to transition into the Premier League. So from that point of view, it's a big tick for me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you say, Sam, we've got to recruit the right players. And again, do you feel confident that can happen? I know we're very much speculating at the minute, but I think some Watford fans, and to be the pessimist with this one is, could you see Gino and Scott giving him the control over transfers? Could you see him actually having an influence of what players come in?
I don't think so, because I think his title is head coach rather than manager. But I think if the Pozzos have any sense, they'll look at that defined style of play that Rob Edwards has, and we'll look to recruit according to that. I think back to the last proper five at the back manager we had under Vladimir Ivic, and we sold Pervis Estupiñán, probably correctly due to the money that he brought in. But we were stuck with, nothing against Ken Sema, but we didn't have a natural left wing back for most of the season. I think that was, one of the really difficult things that Vladimir Ivic had to deal with. So it's about, making sure we're backing him in every single position. It's not going to be a case of chucking money at it like other clubs have done, such as Fulham signing Harry Wilson, or other clubs we've seen in this division putting big money towards bigger players. It's about being smart in the window. Having a look perhaps at the free agent market. Some of his Forest Green squad at the moment are out of contract, and I think one of the fullback who are people really talking about at the moment, I can't remember his name, but he's in talks with Bristol City, but he's a free, and he's someone we should probably be all over, considering he's someone who's already played under Rob Edwards. So it's about being smart in the window, and hopefully we sign players according to Rob Edwards' style of play.
Yeah, interesting. As a lot of people have mentioned, it's for the first time in the Pozzo era, Watford accepted that to get the right candidate, we're going to have to buy them out of their contract. Now, I've seen some comments in the live chat about how it was done, and Dale Vince openly admitting on his social media platforms and on Sky Sports News on the day that it really did snowball that Rob Edwards was going to be the new Watford head coach, and it obviously got appointed in the evening. And it was, I think, the club definitely wanted to get someone in, right, Sam, before that home game. You bumped into, before I carry on, you bumped into Scott, didn't you, in the week? What did you have? In your conversation, what did you mention?
It was a really brief conversation. I just, I just spoke to him about the appointment of Rob Edwards. What are your thoughts on it? Just, it's quite a broad question, considering he must think positively of him, considering he appointed him. But he said that Rob's not coming in here to win promotion; he's here to win the league. And it's quite a big statement. It's a big statement, and probably big pressure on Rob Edwards already if they're selling him that as well in the boardroom. Duxbury's someone who, we know already, not worth the conversation again. He needs to fix up his game, and it seems that he's staying around, and probably this is his last chance. This has to go well for him. But, it was fighting talk from Duxbury, and let's hope that we can win the league.
Last chance for Scott, or is it? Do you think fans, if this one didn't go right, and we're very much looking on the negative side here, but do you think that this appointment has to go right on a Gino level and a Scott level? Yeah,
I think we're going to start to see as well. We're going to see football. We're going to see football. We're going to see Watford fans turn on the Pozzos as well, I think. Simply because if it doesn't look like we're going to change, and this manager does indicate there will be a change, but if we don't change, I think fans will go, thank you, Pozzo. Thank you, Gino, for the last 10 years. What you've done, you saved the club and gave us 5 years in the Premier League. But football's about looking towards the future. It's not looking about what's been. That's a mistake. I know it's not the same thing, but Wenger at Arsenal, for example, Eventually it turned really toxic, even though they were all sort of so thankful for what he did for them, winning league titles, FA Cups, that sort of thing. But eventually, regardless of that, it turned toxic. And I can see something similar happening with the Pozzos if they don't change it up.
So, in my opinion, Sam, and let me know what you think of this, mate, is I'm a big fan of what they've done with this appointment in terms of, I think it's the right profile of manager. Look, put it this way, the names that were being linked for me were the right names that we should have really been linked with. Maybe actually a lot earlier, maybe during when Ivic came in. Ivic was at the time I think we all thought it'd be the right appointment, but his personality didn't really connect with the Watford fans and the players, etc. But I think you look at John Eustace, who was linked and had talks with the club. It broke down over contractual issues. Rob Edwards obviously ultimately got appointed as Watford manager. Liam Manning, Russell Martin. This profile of manager was what we've been crying out for. Why do you think the club have gone in this direction? Why do you think we've gone for a different type of manager to what we had before? As I mentioned, we bought a manager out of their contract. We bought a manager who's been playing in managing in a couple of leagues before. A manager who's got a really good coaching CV, as Lou Orns said in his piece. This guy, although people say he's inexperienced and he's young, actually for his age, he started coaching at 32. So really, actually, a lot further down than his 39 years of age suggests. So why do you think we've gone this way? Why do you think it was needed?
I think it's just something completely different, to be honest with you. I think they've seen over the last few years that sort of rolling the dice with different sorts of managers hasn't worked. And I think, this is probably one of the last sorts of managers they can go through. And what, particularly me, I've been really vocal about getting in a project manager. And I think that what Rob Edwards can define, and hopefully will go on to define, is the idea of a project manager. We look at the likes of Graham Potter, Nuno when he was at Wolves, and many more managers who have come in, built something and gone up to the Premier League and stayed there for a while. I think the early signs of what I've seen from about Rob Edwards, I say I don't know too much about him. I think he's someone who probably can do that, and the board are hoping for. He's someone who, let's hope we can build a project around. He's a young manager. I don't buy the idea that because he's English, that's one of the reasons he came in. I think if you're a good coach, you're a good coach. But yeah, I think, as I say, it's a young manager, it's a project manager, and it's someone the fans will get behind.
Interesting. Let's have a look through your comments before we're going to get some callers in. So if you'd like to get involved, I'll leave the link in the live chat, as you can see, just going in there now. Let's have a look. So an interesting point that people have made is, what's the target for next season? Let us know in the comment section. What is the target for Watford next season? Because Will says in the comments, would not mind a playoff finish if there's a long-term team to build around. No point making a good team like we did the other year just to come straight down. Transfers will show how serious the Pozzos are. As Luan says in the comment section, I think what's being left out is Rob has been a coach for 7 years since he was 32, but involved in coaching for 11 years. So this guy is, he's been around, especially for a 39-year-old. Sam, I wanted to ask you about that. From my point of view, I'm willing to accept us not going up next season if I see the right signs and I see the right style of play being built. And I see, more importantly for me as a fan, the culture in the dressing room, the culture with the club, getting back to what we know Watford is. And I think people will say, oh, what's that? But in terms of, I think when we had Javi, you had a manager that just got the football club. Cisco as well, that sort of personality. And I think Rob, there's a nice subplot that he was given his debut by Graham Taylor when he was at Wolves. But ultimately, for me, Sam, the club culture is the biggest thing. If I see that's going in the right direction next year, I'm more than happy to accept that we won't be going up. From your point of view, what's your target for next season? Would you accept us not going up at the straight? Well, of asking.
Yeah, I think there are sort of two answers to that. I think firstly, if there are the right signs there, as you say, I think fans will be not happy, say, if we don't go up, but they can see the direction that we're going in. As I mentioned in the last video as well, Swansea fans love Russell Martin, and they finished below mid-table this year. But the signs are there that with the right players coming in, Swansea could be a threat. And I think there was someone who could threaten us next season, hopefully towards the top end of the table. But I think, my main answer here is that we have to aim for top two. I think what's the point in football if you're not going to be aiming for trophies and titles? And, I understand perfectly sort of the response to it. Or what's the point if we're going to get relegated the year after that? I look at not the way that Norwich did it, because they kept on going up and down, a yo-yo club. But if we sort of, had Rob Edwards in the Premier League, the signs are still there. We have a good attempt to stay up, but we go down. We stick with him, go back down to the Championship, carry on rebuilding until we get that right sort of blend for the Premier League and hopefully stay up there as well. I think it's all about the signs in this case. And I think that's where the culture of the football club is changed because of it. And the fan base and the mood all changes because of it as well. As someone that fans know will be here for a long time, won't sort of feel threatened by his job every time, we have a couple of defeats in a row, which inevitably will happen. And it's someone that we can build around. So, I mean, I'm really excited for the appointment personally, and I hope a lot of Watford other fans are as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting shout you said there about Norwich in terms of one thing I remember when Daniel Farke came in was I remember the first season he struggled and they finished mid-table and they finished 13th. Yeah. And there was a bit of a rocky patch and Norwich could have gone two ways. They could have stuck by him or they could have chopped and gone for someone else. I think there'll be a period next season, personally, where we will go through a bad bit of form.
Yeah.
When that's going to come, I'm not too sure. But when there's a new manager that comes in, and even the elite level managers, you look at Klopp, you look at Pep, these guys had to go through a bit of pain to come out the other side. My one just thing that's irking me a little bit is I'm just fingers are crossed that the Pozzos and Scott Duxbury are going to back him through that tough period, because it's inevitably going to come, Sam, right?
My gut feeling, sorry to jump in, Jacob, my gut feeling there is that they won't stick by him. If, say, we lose 3 or 4 in a row, I don't think they will, because I'm not sure there will be a change in philosophy. I think they'll believe that on the whole it has worked in the past, even though it's not worked in the last few years. And secondly, financially, promotion has to be the aim. And we've seen they're not scared to get 4 or 5 managers in a season if it means we'll get promoted. So that's I agree. That is my fear as well.
Do you think that's right, though? Do you think that would be the right thing to do?
No, definitely not. And I think it will be, particularly with the profile of manager of Rob Edwards coming in, I think it'll be very difficult to attract a similar caliber of manager as well, with sort of, young manager building something coming up from League Two. I think this is very much the last chance for us here and for the Pozzos as well.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, for me, I think I'm happy to accept not going up at the first time of asking. I don't know whether that should be the expectation, Sam. From my point of view, I think it obviously very much depends on what happens this summer. We all know that Sarr, Dennis, etc. are going to be moving on, and which players Edward fancies and which players he wants to keep and which players he wants to bring in, etc. Which we'll see how much influence he does have over that. But for me, I think it's asking a lot of a manager. Obviously Scott Duxbury's confident. He's very confident in the appointment. It's not a criticism, but I think this is a guy who will. This is his first big managerial opportunity. He mentioned it. Sources close to in the Athletic mentioned it, that he's seeing this as a really big opportunity. I think it's putting a lot of pressure on for the first season for him to get everything right, to get to grips with the club, to get a connection with the fans, to almost redesign the culture at Watford. I don't know. I just think, obviously, I hope we go up. I absolutely do. I just don't know whether the expectation should be that for me. I think, put it this way, if you said we were challenging for the playoffs coming in the season, I'd take that, in my opinion.
I
think that's why they're giving him a 2-year deal, Sam. Is this a case of 2 years where they say, you know what, Rob, you get two goes at it, and you've got to get us up at in 2 years. And if you don't, we'll move you on. If we do, we'll give you a contract extension. That's it. That's how it comes across to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that. But as I say as well, financially as a football club, we do need to be looking to get promoted. That's also sort of another fear in the back of my mind. And even if it's a year in the Premier League before coming back down, that's still money coming in. And I'm just thinking about the size of football club that we've got as well. And I mean, I'll be honest, I won't be happy if we don't go up next season. I know some fans are saying, they prefer the Championship. So do I as a league, but I think we have to be looking to get promoted, to be honest with you. And with the money that we've got as well, I know I just talk about the finances, but compared to other Championship clubs with the parachute payments, we should be able to get in enough quality to go up next season. And I just think I think it's so important that we do. And if we finish outside the playoffs, even though we're challenging, we can't call it a good season. I think that's another question there. If we finish 7th next season,
sorry, just to jump. Sorry, mate. Just to jump in. Do you think that, mate? What are we seeing as success for next season? Are you saying that promotion is success? Because for me, success would look different to that. I think if we went up and went back at the first time of asking, I didn't see a lot of change in the way we were operating as a club in terms of players, management, our attitude towards the head coach. I don't know if I'd see that as an overall success. Yes, we got promoted, but I think this appointment should be the start of a different culture with our head coaches. that's what I'd see success. I think for me, success would look like, even if we didn't go up, actually seeing a different direction with this head coach and a different direction with the players. But that's just my take, Sam. Are you someone who's seeing success as promotion?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, for me, it's very binary. I completely, I think I'm probably in the minority, actually, of Watford fans who would only see successes next season as promotion. I don't think in football, if you're expected to be up there challenging for trophies, as we will be next season in Championship, if you don't come near it or don't actually win a trophy, I don't think you can call it a success. I think I take your point that I think, I will feel positive going into the following season if I see that we stuck with Rob Edwards, we brought in the right players, and there's an exciting style of play. I'll feel positive. I wouldn't call the season a success, to be honest.
Interesting. I mean, some people would say if you put the expectation, Sam, on Edwards to get us up, do you think that's when there could be a snap decision where it's like, well, let's just say picture this, right? We come to February, like we did in that Coventry game. It's that Coventry game in February or something similar where we dropped points when we should have and we've been on a bad run. At that point, we've got a good chance of going up and we've currently got Edwards. Could you see them making a change? It's very hypothetical, but the point is that will be the turning point for me. When we go through a bad run, what will be the reaction? Will it be we're going to back the manager and we're going to ride it out? Or is it going to be a case of if we don't win here, we're going to go? I think that's the bit that I think whilst I'm really excited with this appointment, Sam, I think it's a great profile manager in terms of what I've been reading about him. It makes me so excited for him to come to Watford, Rob Edwards. I think even just the way he conducts himself in interviews comes across really well, not to mention the fact he's a bloody good-looking bloke as well. And he looks even better in that Watford shirt. But ultimately for me, I don't know. I'm waiting to. I'm intrigued to see how the board and the hierarchy approach the next season. Is it going to be different? That's the question for me. Whilst the appointment's exciting, is it going to be a different direction? But I'm sure we'll find out. But there we go. Right, we'll move on. You know what? We've got Roberto the Hornet. He's waiting in the calls. We'll bring him straight in. Roberto, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Sam and Jacob. It's great to be on.
Great to have you back on again. One thing I want to ask you, mate, we're going to kind of centre this whole conversation around Rob Edwards, obviously appointed as the new Watford head coach. What was your initial reaction to when it first came out and got released and officially appointed? What do you see this as a good appointment for Watford?
For sure. I think I had in my head like a little short list of who I'd really like to get, and I was thinking about possibly Struber. I was thinking about possibly Manning. And then on that shortlist in my head was Edwards. I'd seen what he'd done at Forest Green, and I thought Forest Green, they've been a really good club in terms of their model and the way they've gone about their seasons, and running on a vegan kind of basis is not easy. But he's done a great job in a very short space of time there, and I just think it's going in the right direction compared to where the club have been going recently. We have been just reactionary. Decisions been made with Hodgson and with Ranieri. I feel like once we'd sacked Xisco, we thought, let's do the polar opposite of what we've done up to this point, and let's get in someone with experience. But we tried all the possible scenarios, and that made us run out of options. So I like that this is now a long-term strategy. We're actually looking ahead and trying to get some sort of vision, and then find something to aim towards.
Roberto, as a Watford fan, how confident are you that this is a new direction for Watford? Because I think the general consensus is, right, this is a guy that we're all excited about. He fits the profile that a lot of Watford fans wanted. Young, got real kind of good coaching ability, highly regarded as a young English manager. Do you feel that this is the start of a new direction? Are you confident that we'll see a different approach to our head coaches?
I think ultimately it's like the boy who cried wolf. We still don't know yet whether Gino's promises are going to come true and Scott Duxbury's promises are going to come true. And, we can only look at this season and look back at 1920 to show that they haven't learned from their mistakes. But I really hope that this is the time they can learn from them. And actually, I think this season more than any has shown that the fans are just, there's nothing without the fans. With the season in 20 to 21 being without them and then coming back, there was that almost heightened expectation. I think now that we've gone to every game and we've been let down so poorly, it's like now it's not down to the fans anymore. It's down to the players. So I honestly feel that it's a really good appointment, and I'm just really excited. I think youth is something we've struggled with over the last few years with the academy. We've not really got enough players coming through. So I'm hoping Edwards can really get into that.
Yeah.
Go on, Sam.
I was going to ask you though, because you mentioned the Pozzos. I've got a couple of questions for you. Just first off, where do you think? First of all, where will you stand on the Pozzos? Come say the Rob Edwards appointment doesn't work out. Where would you stand on the Pozzos? So, and where do you think the general fan base will stand? Do you think it's very much the last chance for the Pozzos here?
I think it's really hard because if you are a Watford fan over the last 2 years, you've only known Watford to be a Premier League club. So you don't really think that staying in the Championship season upon season is not achieving. And what the Potters have done since 2012 is remarkable. We have to remember that. And it's put Watford back on the map, so to speak. So I think it would be probably the penultimate chance if it went wrong with Rob Edwards, but maybe not the last. I just feel, although the system, and I said this a couple of weeks back, although the system has flaws and the culture of the football club is clearly flawed, the intention, when we brought in Ranieri at the time, I remember thinking, okay, we've gone for someone with experience, that you can see the intention there, but with hindsight obviously in play and with the bigger picture in play, it was a manager that was struggling at the clubs he took over after Leicester, and I honestly feel that was a bit of a gamble, and it honestly didn't pay off. So ultimately, Sam, I think it comes down to how patient are we as a fan base, but also will we see some actual results changing? Because if we do, then I think we can maybe give Gino another chance.
Roberto, what we discussed it earlier on the show. I don't know if you were listening just before, but me and Sam maybe have a different idea of what success would look like for Watford next season. In your opinion, what would success be for this Watford team and Rob Edwards?
I think promotion push. And I think the Championship is not as easy as it was maybe a couple of seasons ago. You've got a lot of big clubs in there who maybe are losing their kind of power and their impact, like West Bromwich Albion, but they are still on their day enough and big enough clubs to compete with the top of the Championship. So I think a promotion push, as long as we actually have a style that we can say, okay, it didn't work today, but we can go back to this style next game. If we've got that, we can almost have a safety buffer and say, well, at least the players are trying, but it just didn't quite work out today. Whereas this season, it's feel like we've been so disillusioned with the football club that there hasn't been that foundation to say, well, we can go back to this when this X player is back and this player is back in form. It needs to have something to base our hopes on, because right now it feels quite empty.
100%. I think it's a great call, Roberto. Absolutely bang on. So, just finally, mate, what do you think what does Rob Edwards need to do? If you're Rob Edwards going into the summer, you look at the squad. Who are you building this team around? Who do you think are the main players to build this Watford team around? Who do you think, mate?
I think if we can get 22 more Hassan Kamaras, then we'll be absolutely loving it. No, I think he's the number one man really on that list.
Yeah.
And people said about that player that someone talked to Kamara and he said, "Oh, I'll stay next season. It'll be fine." But we have to kind of think he is a player we have to at all costs. We talked about the Will Hughes situation at the start of the season. That really didn't go well, and that was dragged out. If Hassan Kamara shows that he does not want to stay at this football club, we kind of have to throw in the towel. We can't drag this out and then create a culture around the club where players are starting to then doubt themselves as well. Ultimately, he's the number one man. I think also I would love to see a bit more of a chance given to some of the youth academy. So, we talk about this game at the weekend against Leicester. We've got a lot of injuries. So someone like Thiago Uckoare could even get a shout. And I'd like to see them giving those players the ability in the Championship to kind of show to the Rob Edwards, well, are they good enough to make that step up to the Championship? So Kamara for me, absolutely. I'd also like to see Kabasele stay because I think he's had a lot of issues with injuries in recent seasons. And although this season's been stop-starty for him. Since he's come in and partnered Samir, it's been a bit more stable than it had been earlier on in the season, and I still feel he's got a bit of legs in him. And then ultimately, I think the key men up front is Joao Pedro and Cucho Hernandez. I think they are so key to our success going forward in the Championship. You know, we had a very old squad in the Championship last time, and I think this needs to slightly buck the trend. If we have Pedro and keep on developing him, minutes is all he needs to do that. So I think those are the four main players, in my opinion.
Brilliant, Roberto. Fantastic call, mate. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll get you back on soon, buddy. Take care.
Cheers, Sam. Cheers, mate.
Nice one. Great call, Roberto. What a man. Mate, we had Roberto back on the channel. I think it must have been a couple of years ago when we were doing fan cams before COVID. Brilliant guy, and spoke so well there. We'll bring on another Watford fan waiting in the wings. Noah. Oh, Noah's gone. Noah's gone. Unbelievable.
I can just see Roberto celebrating down there after we just
love it.
Do you know what? Before we get someone else on, click the link in the chat as well if you do want to have your say. It's quite interesting, something he picked up on as a joke at the time when he mentioned sort of the vegan element of Forest Green. And I look at Forest Green and I see a really unique model of a football club, obviously built around this core value of green, pretty much in terms of veganism. And I think that obviously I'm not expecting Watford to turn into this vegan football club, but he's someone who appears to embrace certain values presented by football clubs, such as what Forest Green sort of strive to do. And I think that he's a man who appears to be someone who therefore would probably embrace the family values that Watford have, and that's something that will automatically get him in the good books of Watford fans. But also someone who can develop a positive culture as well, as we saw at Forest Green. And while this season petered out for them a little bit, I think they only had 2 wins in their last 12 or something like that. I think he had a good group of players who were all behind him as well, a really positive atmosphere, and they won the league in League Two. So I think those are positive signs there as well.
Sam, we'll do a keep, sell or loan video at some point at the end of the season. But as I kind of threw the question over to Roberto there, which players do we need to be building around the team next season? I absolutely agree with him that Kamara has to be one. Anyone else, as Michael says in the comments, important players for me: Kamara, Loser, JP. What do you reckon, Sam?
Yeah, I think those three, and I'd probably throw Cucho Hernandez in there as well. I think those 4 players should be the ones who, without doubt, should be in the starting 11 this season. I do get to see Lou Orns' comment there. There aren't enough goals in there. Probably we need an out-and-out number 9 striker. I mean, that's something that we probably lacked this season. We've seen glimpses from all of the attackers that they could be that one, but Emmanuel Dennis has played out wide, but I'm talking about that central focal point in the Championship that you're often going to need. I think Imran Loser will leave. I think we've spoken about this as well. I could just see him going somewhere like Wolves, perhaps, where he's been linked in the past. I think Imran Loser will go, but I think the others certainly. Kamara said he's staying the other night, so let's hope he does. And I think Joao Pedro proved he can be effective in the Championship, and Cucho Hernandez is an exciting prospect. So those 4 are certainly interesting ones to keep.
How many years did we sign Kamara on? Can anybody let me know in the live chat? It's gone blank on me. But, I mean, the fact he signed in January means it'd be unlikely that he would leave, I think, unless we got a big offer for him. Does anybody know in the live chat? Could someone let me know how many years he signed for when he joined in January? I absolutely agree with you, Sam. I think I don't want to spoil that video later on, but Kamara absolutely won. I think for me, Sam, it's that spine, isn't it? We know Okoye is going to be number 1 next season. We also know that, well, we don't know, but I think one player that there'll be speculation is Imran Loser. Of course, he just had a knee operation, just a minor one on his meniscus. So we'll see how he recovers from that one, which is interesting because I wonder if clubs would have gone for him, but maybe that injury they might have been slightly put off because he's going to be out for a month or so. Interesting one to look out for. I think Kamara is definitely a yes from me. I really hope we keep Imran Loser, just someone to keep it ticking over in the middle, and that kind of Will Hughes player who can create. And I think with Rob Edwards' 5 at the back formation, you need to have 2 players who are good on the ball. Ultimately, You know, sometimes when, you know, for example, Javi's two wide players, I know I keep referencing him today, but a lot of the time that was about legs. I know you had to be good on the ball, but it was a lot of running. In the two central midfielders, they've got to be comfortable on the ball. Sam, one question I did want to ask you, and I've gone, how many years was it? It was, so people are saying it's 3.5, 5 until June. Oh, until June 2025. Okay. Axman says, for me, Kamara, Culshaw, JP also be brilliant if Rob Edwards utilise the academy, in my opinion, and hopefully it's the start of a new era at Watford. Lee says, if loses under at least a 2-year contract, then we have to keep him irrespective of his wishes. Sam, one person who wasn't a fan of the Rob Edwards appointment was Mr. Dale Vince. Now, we mentioned at the top of the show, but he wasn't happy with the way Watford went about it, the way Rob Edwards went about the move to Watford. Dale Vince's point was he wasn't informed about Watford's approach. He wasn't informed that Rob Edwards was in negotiations with Watford. And he was very much implying that it was done without any of his knowledge. He was very confident that he was staying. He even put a statement out. I think it was the night before, right, Sam, that he officially confirmed that, you know, he hadn't received an approach. And then it was the day later, and he said in his Sky Sports News interview that as soon as he picked up the phone to Rob, he knew he was gone. So an interesting one that split opinion at the time, Sam. I know you were quite vocal on the way it was done, but now you've learned a bit more about the situation. What's your take on the way that whole situation unfolded?
Yeah, I was probably a bit reactionary at the time, actually, because at the time, I think it did very much appear that we did what Everton did to us with Marco Silva. And I mean, it looked like we tapped him up behind Forest Green's back. But particularly after Dale Vince spoke on Sky Sports News and completely tied himself in knots and contradicting himself every other sentence. And on top of that, more information coming about Rob Edwards' actual contract when it ran out, what he is and isn't allowed to do. I think while what we did probably wasn't, I don't want to say moral, but ethical within the laws of the game, technically there was nothing wrong with that. And we've seen with the Pozzos, they like to find their loopholes in the system. And it's just annoying that Watford, we can't even do anything good without controversy. So it's frustrating that we've sort of been caught up in a storm again, and it wouldn't shock me if there's another court case on the Pozzos' hands as well. But look, it does appear that what we did was okay in the end.
So one of the sticking points, Sam, was Ben, as Ben says, he was out of contract in June. He wasn't, Ben. So according to Adam Leventhal's article, he ran out of his contract ran out in 2024. But there was there's my dog. She's happy to see Rob Edwards at Watford. One of the clauses in his contract, which did run until 2024, was that he would be allowed to leave if a club from the Championship, which we are, or the Premier League came calling. And apparently there was 3 or 4 clubs actually interested in Rob Edwards. So hats off to Watford as actually getting this deal done, because it could have, number one, ran along the whole summer, but also we could have lost him to another club. But if that scenario occurred, the premise was that Watford would have to pay Forest Green a compensation amount equal to 6 months of Edwards' salary. So then there was discussions about whether that paid should be made up front or to be paid within 30 days. It just got a little bit messy, didn't it? But ultimately, Watford didn't do anything wrong in the sense that we appointed Rob Edwards because there was a fair clause in his contract that he could leave Forest Green. Arguably, some people would argue that they should have let Dale Vince know, but a manager's free to talk with another club. I think it's a little bit different to Marco Silva and Everton in the sense that, number one, that was when the season was going. So that's one of the biggest differences. Marco Silva was what, how many, 3-4 months into his job at Watford, and he was already looking at another job. And also the fact of the matter is there is a clause in his contract that he can leave if the compensation amount's paid. So I think Dale Vince was probably a little bit emotional, understandably so, in terms of, we all know, Sam, that, they had a great season at Forest Green. He took a gamble on him as well. So I think he probably felt a little bit like, well, I've put all this, not risk, but it was his first big managerial opportunity. It was the right opportunity for Rob, and he would have liked it to be done in another way. And yes, I guess it could have been handled a bit better, but ultimately Watford haven't done anything wrong in this situation. So each their own. I haven't really got any complaints. Oh, we've got another caller. Ellie, who I think was on last week. I think Ellie was on.
Yeah, I think she was on the last
week. A bit of connection problem, but she's gone. Sam, We haven't had many luck with callers today, but we probably will do for the next one. If you want to get involved, we're going to probably be on for another 10, 15 minutes or so. The link is in the live chat below. Sam, any last thoughts on that whole situation with Dale Vince? You can understand why he was emotional, right? You can understand why he was quite...
Yeah, definitely. I do sympathise with him as well a bit, actually. I don't think he conducted himself in the most professional way. But at the same time, I can understand why he's slightly frustrated. And as I say as well, I think I slightly probably misjudged the situation towards the start as well. It does appear that, it isn't as similar as the Marco Silva case that it originally, I thought, looked like it was. And also at the same time, Watford have done everything legally pretty much in terms of the laws of football. So look, I wish Forest Green all the best. They don't wish us all the best. And let's hope this situation's cleared up.
Yeah. What do you know? What, Sam? The last thing I know, I love him. I absolutely love him. John Eustace. He didn't get the job in the end, but he was the other manager that was picked out by Watford, and discussions took place between the club and John about potentially becoming the new manager. It'd be interesting to know whether he was the first option or the first choice. What do you reckon, Sam? I'm starting to. I think he might have been.
There were so many names thrown about.
Just to guess.
Yeah, there were so many names thrown about. Look, it's someone I could see John Eustace in the future, perhaps when he's a bit more experienced coming to Watford. I think it's one that I could just see happening. But I mean, there were so many names thrown about. We won't truly know what happened. I mean, the thing about John Eustace was he was out of a job because Mark Warburton left QPR along with his coaching staff. And it looks like that they could be off to Birmingham now. So little reunion between John Eustace and Troy Deeney as well, which will be nice.
Yeah.
But look, I think things change in football so quickly. And as you say, other clubs were interested in Rob Edwards. So Watford did have to act quickly to get him into the football club. And I think that's why everything did happen so quickly. I think they probably heard of the interest and thought, let's do it. 48 hours later, it was done. And it'll be interesting to see as well if he's at the game tomorrow, which I actually imagine he will be, considering, unless they sent him out a kit, him doing the kit launch as well, I think suggests that he's probably around Hertfordshire at the moment. Yeah,
interesting. That's it for me. I think with Eustace, the one thing I thought that he was the number one choice was that, again, in Adam Leventhal's article, please make sure you go and read it. He said that they had actually understood to have agreed a deal in principle, but negotiations ended when decision was made to opt for Edwards instead. Apparently, there was an issue, contractual issue. So whether that was to do with the length of contract potentially, with it being the 2 years, whether he felt that wasn't long enough to rebuild at Watford. Would love to know. I mean, I don't think we will ever know, but they were definitely the two that stood out. Before we move on to the new kit and get the thoughts of Sam on what looks to be an absolute belter, modelled by the very handsome Rob Edwards, we're going to bring in Ellie, who's been on the show before. Ellie, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can, boys. How are you both?
We're very, very well.
Are you excited for tomorrow?
Oh,
I'm absolutely dreading it.
I completely forgot it was happening, and then I realised.
Oh, really? Or did you forget the beers, more to the point, Sam?
I have to get up at 9 a.m. tomorrow to get down from Birmingham to the game. So for a completely dead rubber as well. No idea why I'm going. I just thought last home game of the season, regardless of whether Watford regardless of whether Watford are doing well, I love going to the Vic.
He bleeds yellow. He bleeds. Ellie, I wanted to ask you about Rob Edwards. What was your take on it? Because when we got you on last week, I think the word you described the whole club at the minute was dire. So how are you feeling at the minute after hearing that Rob Edwards is? Do
you know what? I'm not going to lie, right? I am absolutely. Can I swear on this or not? Am I not allowed to?
We'd prefer you not to.
Okay, so I am extremely excited, and that is the best way to put it, because he, not only if Watford are not doing great, he's a bit of eye candy on the sidelines to have a little look at, which is great. He's only 39. He's young, so he has got such a great opportunity to get in there to do his thing. He believes in Youth Academy, which, by the way, boys, I wanted to let you both know my nephew won his tournament today.
Oh, love Congrats!
And he also got the Player of the Tournament award.
Oh, I love it.
So, and he's a full-on striker. He scored a worldie today, top bins, and he goes, and the thing is though, his celebration, right? He went all along, all the fans tapping all their hands.
Ah, superb.
So I was.
He'd been planning that, hadn't he? The night before.
100%, 100%. And so I wanted to come on and firstly let you all know that because, and have you seen, like, I've been retweeting actually some of the stuff that the academy's doing at the moment, and they're winning all their matches, and I am just so excited for Rob Edwards to come in. I can't begin to tell you, because
for a couple of reasons.
Well, for not only is he a nice bit of eye candy for us ladies, but he will get the youth lot up, like Matty, who's been away at Cheltenham where the races are. He will get him in first team, and that's something that is just so important. And the championship is a great opportunity. I mean, my one of my managers at work, his son actually plays for Sheffield United, Ryan Brewster, and for him he left Liverpool on a mad deal to go to Sheffield United. Liverpool have put in a buyback clause for him for 88 million, which is just crazy. And he's now playing first team football every single week. And for him to get those minutes, it means that he will eventually, he said to me, he's like, if Liverpool, you know, I potentially could go back to Liverpool, but I don't know yet. I don't know what's going to happen. He's had his Achilles all repaired. So he had them all, like, basically they cut his Achilles in half and restitched them so it wouldn't happen again, which I just didn't understand the concept of that operation whatsoever.
Sorry, Ellie, just to jump in there. I was just wanted to ask you. You mentioned about Rob. You're really excited for him to come in. And one thing I did want to ask you before you go is, which players do you think we need to be keeping for next season? I don't know if we asked you that, did we, last time? Which players do you think we need to be building this team around, and who do you think Rob would? We
need to. Christ, I don't think it's so hard. I would, if only, I don't know. Like, I'm so lost because I don't know. Is Saar going to stay? Sorry, the dog's barking. I don't know. Like, if Saar stays, are we going to build it around him? Are we going to, we need to fucking start at the back, really. Like, we need to look at the goalkeeping situation. Danny Bashman, I think he'll leave. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. He's also a bit of eye candy, I'm not going to lie. I think we need to just rebuild all of them. I wouldn't keep any of them. I'd put Tom Cleverley into the academy and I'd put him as a coaching staff, if I'm being honest, because I think his best days are over. He can't hold a ball for no one. We'll
see. Ellie, finally, one last question. Are Watford going up next season, yes or no?
Oh, I hate this, and my mum will curse me for this. I think Watford need to go down for 2 seasons to really rebuild, to be able to come back 100% fitter. Obviously, I'd love it if they bounced down and came back up. But I think there's too much work that needs doing, and I'm hope to God that the Pozzos and Gino and Scott flipping Duxbury give him the opportunity that he so desperately needs, because it's not going to be turned around in a fortnight. It's a longevity. It's, building for your future. And that's just something that I think is so, so important. And I don't think they've done that. And they didn't, look at the way they treated Mariappa when he left.
Yeah, true.
And Adrian's a really good family friend. And he said to me, they let me leave. And I said, yeah, because you were out of contract. And he goes, yeah. But they didn't, I've been with that club since I was 7 years old. And I didn't get nothing. No one even messaged him to say thank you. The squad did. So Troy Deeney obviously did. And Tom Cleves. But that was it.
Interesting. Well, I guess we'll never know what will really happen with that one. But Ellie,
put it this way: my nephew will be soon very in the first team. He's only 9, so.
I absolutely love it.
It's bright.
Someone needs to clip this up for a decade's time, and Ellie's nephew's going to be playing the first team.
He's already done his first post-match interview. He was at St George's Park the other weekend, and he made the finals of that tournament, and then he got knocked out on penalties. And I just think knockout football at that age is just cruel.
Yeah,
cruel. He didn't speak for 2 days after he lost.
Jeez. Ellie, I'm going to have to let you go only because we're running out of time, but thank you so much for coming on.
You're most welcome. Thanks, boys.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Right, yeah. Apologies if you did pick up a little bit of swearing there. Ellie's getting excited for Rob Edwards, and can you really blame her? I can't. Sam, just looking ahead. We mentioned Rob Edwards. We mentioned that clip. We also want to mention that home shirt. I mean, oh my word! The only thing that I would have loved maybe is if they released the shorts with it as well, just because I think there's that dilemma, isn't it? Is it going to be black or red? But
well, I think that's the whole thing, because they put coming soon. I mean, I know it's referring to Rob Edwards and the new kit, but I feel like the suspense leading up to the shirt, I think for me, leads to my belief that it's going to be red shorts, because I just feel like the suspense they're putting with it is going to be this massive reveal that we're back to red shorts.
You know what? I'm a red shorts man as well. Sam, what are you, red or black? Huge.
Mostly in my lifetime, it's been black, to be fair. But what really pushed me over the edge to red was that iconic Brighton away day when Mate Vydra scored, and we had the red shorts on that day. And I think that's wow. What really annoyed me last season in the Championship was when we had the kit clashes with the shorts, we'd wear yellow shorts with the home shirt. Should have gone with red. It's just a bit. Yeah.
Great. You know what? For me, Sam, I've always said it. Red, just absolutely. Only because I think successful times when I see red shorts, I think Vydra away at Brighton. I think Luther in the 80s. I think Johnny Barnes in the 80s. I think some of the best Watford teams that have ever graced this club wore red shorts. Freddie, and
imagine.
Now shorts and socks of Vydra. Can you imagine? I think he's actually he's probably going to roll it out.
Yeah, I don't know about red socks, to be fair. I think yellow socks. I think probably. For going with the red shorts.
Do you know what? It's really funny thing, isn't it, Pits? Because it has absolutely no impact on performance. But it's like one of the most talked about aspects of football. Like every year, without a doubt, the kits that are from like the top clubs go viral.
Yeah,
but rubbish or like amazing.
I am thinking. I get very much retro shirt vibes from the new shirt. I think it's because of 100 years at Vicarage Road coming up.
Lovely
and I do think that the away shirt and the third shirt could be similar sort of retro vibes. Maybe repeat the white Iveco away shirt could come out perhaps.
Beautiful.
Do you know what? I think we had a similar one a few years ago, and I think you were wearing it to a game a few weeks ago as well. Do you remember the AC Milan Watford shirt, black and red stripes? Bring that back as well. Lovely,
mate. What a belter! Absolute belter. Final thoughts, Sam. We've got people are firing out the red, black.
Yeah,
I love it. Do you know what? Someone did say a rogue shout. Go full yellow.
Could do. Yeah, that's I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest with you, of just straight colour football, sort of football kits. I remember a few years ago it was Arsenal wore all red. I think they were playing like West Brom away or something. They wore red shorts, red socks, red tops, and they all look like Where's Wally on the pitch. And I think, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. A final question, actually. This is a great place to round off. Adam Tomlinson, thank you so much for watching, Adam. Thoughts on Foster leaving and his last home game tomorrow. If you didn't see already, Ben Foster, Roy Hodgson announced in his press conference that Ben Foster is leaving Watford at the end of the season. I think we all had an idea that he probably wouldn't be staying on, especially when Uckoare got announced as the new number one goalkeeper, and he confirmed it in an interview as well that he's looking to be number one here at Watford in the Championship or Premier League, and obviously ultimately the Championship. Ben Foster's leaving. Sam, I saw you put a really nice tweet out about Ben, because there's been a lot of criticism and positivity that's come in for him for the last couple of seasons. Obviously, since he started the YouTube channel, there was the whole Swansea gate, but when Jamal Lowe scored and went up to the camera, there was some of the vlogs and some of the tweets, etc. But overall, I think, is it fair to say we'll look back on his time at Watford fondly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have been one of Ben Foster's biggest critics, so I'm not going to be one to say, no, he shouldn't have been criticised, because I have been one to sort of think about his, at times, unprofessionalism, I want to say, and I haven't been the biggest fan of the YouTube channel, but at the same time, a brilliant servant for Watford on more than one occasion over two spells here. I particularly think fondly back to that FA Cup final season in the Premier League when we nearly qualified for Europe. He was absolutely exceptional, made some brilliant saves. I think back to Brighton away, where he made 3 or 4 brilliant saves, West Ham away, the relegation season, Sheffield United away. There are so many memories from Ben Foster that I think, I personally will remember him for. And on top of that, he's a top bloke as well. He does a lot for the community and a lot for fans. So wish Ben nothing but the best, and looking forward to wishing him well tomorrow, and hope he gets a good reception.
100%, Sam. Don't think you could have said it any better, mate. I think one thing I would say just on Ben's YouTube channel is, for a lot of people I know, and I spoke to a few mates of mine who were like, oh, during lockdown, it was just so nice watching something like that. Like, it was so uplifting. Like, he's such a positive character. Obviously, sometimes I think as Watford fans, we're like, oh, maybe don't do this, do that. But on the whole, Ben's been a fantastic servant for Watford. Obviously joining, he was on loan here 06-07, coming back to the club in 2018, isn't it? So it's been 4 years since he's been back. Great servant for Watford. Saved us so many times in games, particularly during that season with Javi. He was brilliant. And the relationship he brought up with Gomez as well, it was fantastic. And I met Ben a few times. I met him at the start of the season for the kit launch. Genuinely one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. Completely the same off camera as well. Like, it's not an act at all. Like, he's completely the same off camera. And I remember him saying at the time that he was thinking about what he's going to do at the end of the season, and he's officially announced that Ben Foster's going to be leaving Watford, and hope he gets a great reception tomorrow. It'd be great to see any of you guys at Vicarage Road tomorrow. Ben's last game at Vicarage Road, which is, I'm sure, hopefully he'll get a clean sheet and put in a good performance, and won't have a lot to do, but knowing Watford, he probably will do. Sam, thank you so much for today. Really enjoyed it, mate. Thank you to all of you for watching. Great stuff. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully we can get some more callers on next time. If you ever fancy it, just let us know. But we'll probably do a weekly call-in show, or just a review show, whatever you guys would like to see. And we'll have something coming for you next week.
We'll put out a tweet later as well, I think, about expectations for next season. So I think it's perhaps, we'll get callers in for it. Perhaps a phone-in show next week or next few weeks.
Yeah,
we'll
great.
get expectations in for next season, because I think it's quite good here. We got sort of the contrast that we're on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum here. So
yeah,
interesting to see where people sit.
Yeah, love it. I think that's a great shout from Sam. We'll do a video of kind of like our pre-season expectations going into the 22-23 campaign. We'll put a tweet out. Thank you very much, Surin, top man. Great to see you, buddy. As Adam says, leave a like, and as Ian says, great stream. Thank you very much, Ian. That wasn't me blowing smoke up our own arses. Appreciate that, Ian. Great stream. But only 31 likes. Come on, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to WD18, follow us on socials at WD18 fans, and myself and Sam, as you can see just below our faces. Sam's handsome face, mine not so much. Basically, give us a follow, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.